Hello everybody and welcome along to the August 2025 update from Clydebridge Station. The month of July is over. It's been a glorious summer. It's meant to have nice sunny weather all through July, yeah? Can you believe it? As I film this right now in July, you can maybe hear it, it's windy and it's wet. But we're in the shed, so we won't let that worry us too much. In this month's update, I'm going to be concentrating on some scenic improvements on Platform 1. You may remember at the end of the July update I had put ballast down onto Platform 1. So we'll be progressing more on Platform 1 in this month's update, and that will involve putting dummy electrical wiring in for the advert lights, and some litter and track grime onto the track bed. We'll have a look at the ballast as well. You also notice that an old friend has returned. In the background there is 47708 Waverley. We'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. Towards the end of the programme there'll be the usual shout outs as well to a few layouts and non-layout people that may be of interest, and in addition to all of that, I'll also be telling you about my plans for the rugby union ground. If you've got any comments, queries or suggestions, please leave them in the comments below and I'll get a look at them as soon as I can. And if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon so you can be notified of when new videos come up on this YouTube channel. There's at least one per calendar month. July was quite a busy month for videos, with the July update, the arrival of 47745 and the Cooper Model Railway Show. And on the topic of Cooper, it was good to meet a few of you there, and I hope everybody who was at the show had a great time. But let's get on with this month's programme, so if you're all ready, all aboard and enjoy the programme. We'll go back in its rightful place is the push-pull train on Platform 1. You'll notice, by the way, that I've actually cleared all the people and other stuff off Platforms 1 and 2 apart from these couple of things. Just simply because it will give them a bit more access for doing work on the Platform 1 and 2, and plus the fact it makes it look better for photographs as well. At the end of the July update I was mentioning about how 47708 had no power going to it, and when it did get power it was actually operating in one direction, that direction, without the controller being at 0. Went down to Scooney Hobbies in Kirkcaldy with it, and it was diagnosed that the decoder had gone. So Phil Grubb down at Scooney Hobbies put a new decoder in it on Friday the 4th of July. I've given it a quick test around, I've reprogrammed it to 708 and it's working fine. Now the broken coupler that was on this Mark III coach here, I've put the pipe coupler back in, but I've put it upside down. It seems to be working fine now. It is my intention eventually to get new couplers and to be very careful and take no couplers out. I think putting the pipe couplers in was not a good idea by me, but lessons learnt. But if I ever do manage to get an Oxford Rail Mark III in ScotRail Blue Stripe livery, I will replace, I'll do a swap over. That said as well, I'm also on the hunt for another DBSO, because I'm planning in the future to have a second push-pull set, but not always hauled by a push-pull locomotive. It might actually be hauled by, well, you've got 47844 there, for instance. The DBSO would be at the tunnel end of the layout. This is the buffer stop end of the layout. And my idea is that sometimes a locomotive that's not push-pull equipped would bring the set in, DBSO at the rear, and then another locomotive would haul the set out, DBSO immediately behind the locomotive. As used to happen in the 80s on the Glasgow Aberdeen or Edinburgh Aberdeen ScotRail Expresses. Occasionally a push-pull locomotive was not available, so a conventional loco sufficed, and the locomotive, almost always a 47, would haul the set in both directions. The DBSO would just be like a normal BSO. So that's actually my intention. Now what I have to do now is take the push-pull set out, because that would bring me up very nicely to the main focus of this month's update, and we'll just get that update. Oh, and by the way, just to let you know that it's a DAPL decoder that's been put into 47708. So I'm just going to park the push-pull set, and we'll bring the push-pull set back in at the end of the programme. So I'll just put it up there, and as you can see, she's run fine, so I'll put her up there. That's that. I need now turn the power off on the layout. Power's off for the work that's going to be done this month, and that's what we're going to talk about next. Platform 1 is now beginning to look a lot like a platform now, but there's still lots of work to be done. There's litter to get put down here, particularly at the buffer stop area. There's track grime to get put down, some oil spill to be put around about here. There's also, these have to be operated by electricity. They're dummy ones, so dummy electrical cables would need to go through each one and come down here. The plan in this month's update is to do the dummy electrical cables first, and then go on to doing the track grime. A third job I'm going to do this month is to finish off putting the coping stones on here. The only snag is they're going to be that sort of shade and not that sort of shade, but I think we can live with that, given the fact that in the real world not everything is going to be the same shade, and it could well have been that during construction I just switched to another set of coping stones that were a different shade, or these were damaged and they put new ones in which were a different shade. So there's quite a bit to do this month. I'll condense the video down as much as I possibly can. Now the plan is therefore for the electrical cables for the dummy lights is it's going to be the brown dropper wire that comes with the DCC bus wire kit that you get from Express Models. Before I go any further, Express Models are closing down. Their owner, Jeanette, has said that she's unable to keep the business going because of her arthritis, so she's stepping back. Hopefully somebody takes on the business and allows it to continue to function. So if there's any developments on that, I will let you know in a future update. We do wish Jeanette, of course, the best, all the best for the future. Whilst doing this as well, this here got knocked by me recently, so it needs to get fixed. You can see the damage it's done to the wall there, so that's an easy fix of getting a bit of brick walling, putting it in there and then sticking that back on, so that's quite easy to do. What won't be easy is putting the track grime in here without knocking these, so that's going to be a take your time job. The dropper wires that I'm going to be using are the brown ones, but they'll get painted black, and they'll run down and go back to this electrical cabinet here. So I'll just put one of them behind here. It'll go along there, up there, onto there, one from there to there, there to there, there to there. You can see a pattern emerging here, can't you? There to there, and there to there, and that's where it'll stop. I'll then I'll glue them on with Yoo-Hoo glue, and I'll finish off by, there's another one that I'll need to get fixed too, and then I'll finish it off by making sure everything's stuck in place and is properly adhered to. By the way, you won't need a lot of Yoo-Hoo glue for doing this if you're going to try it yourself. With the push-pull train out of the way, Gives me plenty of room to get started. So that's the first task I'm going to do, get the dropper wire painted. That there is the crudely placed electric cables, with the bottom cable going all the way along to this electrical cabinet there. As I said, the cabling is crudely done. It's been sprayed with a grey paint, which did actually come off when I was trying to glue it on. I was using Yoo-hoo glue for that. PVA glue just didn't cut it, I'm afraid. But it's on now, and you've got to remember the layout was set in 1988 to 91, so sometimes cabling wasn't as tidy as what it could have been. We're looking there at the electrical cabinet as well, because I'm going to show you. That's a Westhill Wagon Works one. I was originally, and you may have actually seen it at the start, I'd had one of these. This here, I believe was a Wills kit, which I went and built, and it's supposed to be double O gauge. That looks more like O gauge to me than double O gauge. I'll go in the bucket. The Westhill Wagon Works kit will do instead. Notice also the amount of vegetation that's actually all around the cabinet area here and elsewhere on the scene. Some people will say that you wouldn't get vegetation like that at retaining walls, and yes and no is probably the answer to that. Yes, in the sense that frequently trains might be running past, but no in the sense that, how can I put it, trains would actually, in this case, trains are actually well away from the retaining wall. Examples that I could give you where tracks are close to the retaining wall, possibly Dundee in fact, but the difference there is that the platform lines are well away from the retaining wall, but there's also passing loops as well on the through lines which are run closer to the retaining wall. That's why you wouldn't get this vegetation at, say, Dundee, but here, because the track is quite a bit away from the retaining wall, that's why we've got the vegetation that you can see there, and it's a mixture of woodland scenic, scale model scenery and Pico. That's the cabling rather crudely done and put up. What we'll do now though is we'll turn our attention to the track. It's fair to say that these buffer stop ends, in fact the whole of the platform track bed, is a bit too clean, and that will get fixed in this update. You can notice here as well that some of the ballast didn't dry, didn't get soaked through. That's not a problem, because when I come to be putting down the oil spill kit, I'll have to make up the PVA water mix, so I'll be able to do that again anyway, so it's not a big issue, not a big issue at all. We also need the scale model scenery litter kit, and what I'll be doing is actually putting some of that on before I put the track stain down, and some of it after I put the track stain down. That'll do two things. That'll simulate stuff that's been put down and then oil's been going over it, and stuff that's been freshly thrown on the track. I won't be overdoing it, but what I will say is there'll be a lot less at this end than there will at this end, because this is obviously where passengers are coming onto the platform from the ticket office area, so that's why you'll see lots more rubbish. The first thing I need to do is go and put some rubbish down. Oh, and by the way, when you're using the oil spill kit, it's the same as when you're using the PVA water mix for putting ballast down. The power should be turned off. Well, this is the kit here from Scale Model Scenery, and it's Alpha X-Ray 012. You can see I've used it before, and I'll give you an example of how it's been used. You may just be able to pick that out there, and there, and even there. And we've got Tesco carrier bags in there. So that's the stuff that I'm going to be using. There's some minute little things as well, and they're rail tickets. I don't think I'll bother using them, but a couple of carrier bags and a few newspapers dumped near the buffers will be the main stuff that will be going down. I'll apply them off camera, but what you do, cut your item out, use tweezers to hold it, stick it through some neat PVA and stick it on your layout. Bob your uncle. You can even scrumple it up, but scrumple it up before you put it in the neat PVA if you so wish to desire. And then that's that. I'll put a couple through throughout the platform road, but the majority of the stuff will be scattered near the platform buffer stops. Because as I said already, that's where most people will congregate for a train. And I'll see the various different ones there. So I'll go ahead and do that right now. That is a very therapeutic task, I can tell you that right now. As you can see, if we go up a bit, there's a little bit more there. And there's a tiny bit there. I'll put a couple more bits in here, and then I'll put a couple more bits onto here as well. But that's the effect I'm looking for. Lots of litter lying down there. As I say, that's because we're right near the buffer stops. I'll probably have to try and stick one in behind that buffer stop there as well. So that'll be something I'll need to remember to do. Quick word about the newspaper, by the way, that Scale Model Scenery make as part of their litter sheet. West Hill Wagon Works make newspaper bundles, and I'll be using them later on when I do more concourse work. Spray your newspaper bundles grey, let the paint dry, and then stick one of those on the top and you've got a realistic bundle of newspapers. And there it is, we tip for you. As I haven't went too mad, but I'll put a couple of bits of rubbish here and a couple of bits more rubbish up here. I'll put a couple more bits here, and then that'll be ready to get the paint on, the track grime. This is how the track's looking now, and there's two different bits being done to it. We've obviously got the track grime here, which is just brushed on, but up here, this is where the Hatton's oil spill kit will go. Now, if you look there, you can just make out some powder on the in between the tracks there. What I've also done though is some of it's went onto the side here too, which is actually what I'm wanting. I took the opportunity while I was here to also put down more PVA water mix on some loose ballast. As I film this in July, it's absolutely baking hot. It's actually 31 out there, so it's actually dried in very quickly. The next task I'll do is to quickly run over that with Track Magic and the track cleaning wagon, and then what I'll do is I'll start to paint in the Hatton's oil spill fluid, and here I'll be applying more of the track grime to give it a second coat in some places, because you can see that it is still needing touched up at some of the areas running alongside the rails. You could see the oil grime and that on some of the rubbish that's lying on the track here. Notice that I haven't done it here where the buffer stop is, and which I will get fixed, folks, at some point. I'll just put that in there because obviously the trains aren't proceeding there. I have something planned for this bit here in the future as well. I'll talk about that towards the end of the video if I remember. But that's what I'm going to do. I'll brush on the oil spill kit and then start applying more of the track grime. Well, that has all dried surprisingly quickly, and in all honesty, I say surprisingly, but given how hot it is, it really isn't that much of a surprise, but I'm quite happy with the effect there. One thing I forgot to mention, when I first started putting down the track grime, I hadn't cleaned the brush, and the upshot of that was that there was still a little bit of oil spill solution on the brush. Actually, that was no bad thing, because if you see what it's done, it's created the merging of them in. So I'm quite happy with that. The real challenge now is to get a train in, so that would be the push-pull train, and that's what I'll do next. I could have got a bit closer to the buffers, but I won't bother about that now. I'll do that off camera, but I did run a couple of tests off camera with the push-pull train. It's very difficult really in platform 1 to actually see the full effect, but you can just see what I'll do. And don't try this at home, folks, is I'll just push the train in a little bit like that. Don't ever try that at home, folks. And it is in a rough area, approximating to where I've got the oil spill kit down. But if you look here, you can actually see where there's newspapers there. That actually, with the staining, means that it's like the oil spill in the track grime has just simply spread out, as we imagine, like liquid form, just that going out like that. So that's pretty realistic. If I put the camera just there for you, and you'll be able to get the better effect of things. And you can see now the electric cable there, non-operational, and we've got all the stuff going down the side here. In reality, if this was a real station, sometimes that wouldn't be seen because the push-pull train would mask it, or any train that would be here in the buffers would mask it. But I'm quite happy with the outcome of that. I may in the future, and I'll just pick the camera up again and just show you that I may in the future put a little bit of coating of track grime down here to simulate where track workers have been walking. So that's all of that. And it gave me a chance to show you Waverley working once again. I'm still going to have to get used to the way this stops, by the way. It's a little bit hard. What's still to happen is that I've still got to go and put down the remaining coping stones there. That's my next task. And then start doing the work on the rest of the concourse. It'll be the coping stones, however, it'll be the first thing to get done. A little tip, by the way, for you, if you're ever actually trying to put down this track grime, that I've put down on there. Sometimes one coat will not be enough, it'll be 2 coats, and I don't have an airbrush, so I actually just had to use a normal small artist brush to put it on. So in that case, 2 coats will be required. In colder weather, leave it for 24 hours. In hot weather like this, well, as you can see, it dried within an hour. So just a little tip for you there. Now, while I remember where the buffer stop is, in real life that would actually be all rusty. And woodland snakes make track pens, and you can actually make the track rusty there. And I'll invest in one of those eventually to simulate rusty track. You go to stations where there's buffer stops, and what you'll notice is that the area just before the buffer stops will start to get a bit rusty, and the track where the buffer stop sits will be completely rusty, simply because it's never been used. So it'll be a track pen I'll be getting in future. Next thing that we're going to talk about is the recent arrival of 47745. We'll have a couple of running shots of her bringing the parcels train in, and then we'll do one more task for the remainder of this programme, and that's carry on with the concourse. sort of look very prototypical looking scene there. And the locomotive you saw there was the one that I reviewed back in July, and that was 47745, Royal London Society for the Blind carrying Rail Express Systems livery. Just giving you a quick couple of running shots with it. It's allowing me also to do some testing of parts of the track, and I know this part needs a bit of cleaning again. Before I show you buffering up to its train in platform 6, just one thing I will mention to you, and I'm just going to turn the camera around here. This Mark 1 BG and BR's original parcels livery for coaching stock is going to get replaced because one of the coupling hooks, the spring's gone on it. Might be able to pick one up at the Cooper Model Railway Show. If it's in BG, if it's blue-grey livery, well, good enough. If it's in parcels livery, good enough. Intercity livery, unbranded, good enough. But I will get one up at the show, I'm pretty sure about that, or eBay's my friend. But the reason I've changed this on the mail train here, the postal train from the GUV that was using in previous shots, was I've actually been told by a couple of people that a general utility van would not have been used on a postal train because the staff wouldn't be able to access it. A GUV had solid doors at either end. Royal Mail staff would not have been able to get into the GUV, so that's why they were not used on postal trains, which is what this is. And the definition between a postal train and a mail train is a mail train carried no staff on it and was formed of GUVs or BGs. There were no travelling post offices on it. There was no sorting vans, no stowage vans. A postal train would have had stowage van and sorting offices on it. That's the difference between the two. There's also this one here has got, and Bachmann are really good at this with the Mark 1 BG, having the steps on them. According to Walton and Trent, they were taken off in the real ones around about the late 60s following the beginning of overhead electrification. Have a few seconds thought and you'll work out for yourself why they were removed. They're actually on the TPO vehicle but not on the stowage van. Don't know why. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend trying to remove them, however, because after all you could actually cause more damage than it's worth. Anyway, let's get the 745 onto the parcels train platform 6. And that's it safely coupled up. It also gave me a chance to test out this bit here because part of the cables had come away, so I resoldered them off camera earlier. As you can see, things are working fine. Just take it up to the back here because I will be doing this off camera. I'll be moving the mail train away, the postal train, because I'm going to experiment with a brown and a blue wire soldered to the track here and here, and soldered to that and that, because I'm going to see if I can do the platform 6 lights here and get them operational. Now admittedly platform number 4, the lights there are not working, but there is power going to that track, so it's not a big issue. That clearly needs to be looked at another time. But anyway, that's 47745 safely deposited into platform 6, ready to take a postal train all the way to small matter of Glasgow Central. Well, Palmady Depot for servicing. Imagine it's early in the morning. Let's get on now and see what's happening down at the station concourse. There we go, I'll just swing the camera across there and you can see that's the walls now installed at the platform end at the buffer stops. One little mistake I made here, but that'll be easily covered over. I'm going to put a lamp post there. How would people be able to see the departure board that's going there properly? That'll get covered over with a litter bin, but all that's for another day. And we can just show you the other side there as well. I had just enough spray paint to be able to finish that off. I haven't done this part here. I'll get that another time. Speaking of time, we've not got a lot left in this video, so let's go on to the shout outs. Time for the shout outs for this month, and we're doing it in front of the new shunter 08761. However, that'll be detailed along with 2 other locomotive arrivals in a separate video. First shout out this month is to Graham Fulston here on YouTube. He runs a website, the layout Lakeside Parkway. So if you check out Graham Fulston, please. The next one is Pudham Junction. You'll find him on YouTube as well, Pudham Junction. And West Blythe MPD, you'll find that here on YouTube. It's set in the late 70s, early 80s in the northeast of England. So you'll find those 3 layouts here on YouTube. One non-layout shout out for this month, very careful how you say that, easy to get it wrong, is a singer called ADMT. You'll also find him on Instagram. He's from Doncaster in South Yorkshire, and he writes songs about love, but also about challenges, mental health, which I've had in the past, but since my autism diagnosis I feel a hell of a lot better. And he has assured me that his favourite loco on my layout is 47522 Doncaster Enterprise, because he's from Doncaster. So go and check him out. My favourite tune he's brought out so far is called Come Along. So why don't you come along for the ride with him? Well, that completes this month's update. There'll be a couple of videos coming along your way in August as well, and then we'll have the September update from the layout, where I'm going to be doing more work on the concourse, and I think I may have a solution to something that has been puzzling me for a little bit, but it's just a minor thing, not a major thing. On screen now will be a link to a previous video, and on the right hand side will be a link to the playlist, and in the middle a button for you to subscribe, and I sincerely hope you can do so. And next month, later this month, you'll also see more about this locomotive. Whatever you're doing for the rest of your time this month, please, whatever you do take care of yourselves, won't you, and enjoy your lives. And I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching. Cheerio.